Welcome to the latest installment of trackboundUSA's Athlete Feature Series. This week we will be heading back to Stillwater, Oklahoma to speak to Tom Farrell about his rollercoaster 2012 season. That season included a fantastic A standard of 5,000 meters, but unfortunately, shortly after, a stress fracture as well, which was to rob Tom of his Olympic debut.
So Tom, last time we spoke to you, you were in your sophomore year at OSU. A lot's happened since then. You've reduced your 5K PB from 13:26 to 13:15, and I believe in doing that, you went through 3K quicker than your dad's PB over 3K. So
true, yeah, a lot quicker.
just for the record, it was a good year. You had a good indoor PB over 3K 7:52, and then that followed up a decent cross season. Not quite as you would have expected in coming Wisconsin winning the cross, but you must have had a good idea of where you were going in indoors and then out into the outdoor season with your winter.
Yeah, winter was really good. Got some great miles in, great base, and it cross country was it was upsetting. It was annoying. It was hard for us all, but we put all the work in we could, and we did what we could on the day. We can't change how Wisconsin run. They ran a great race. They deserved to win. They were probably the best team all year, so we had to do some special things to beat them, and we all had okay days, and it wasn't good enough, but I think it gave us a lot of us motivation for the indoor. And coming into indoor, yeah, just again a lot of base. Didn't really do any specific work indoors, so running a PB in the 3K was nice to do. And after that, making nationals, which I will be quoted when I ran my 7:52, with missing the auto qualifying by 0.08. I'm like, oh, that'll easily get in. Well, my my nerves kind of broke down in the last week before we found out, and I was 16th in. So closer than we thought. But no, it's great to run there, and I ran pretty.
I think we predicted you'd be on the bubble, and you were exactly on the bubble. So
I was, yeah, it was really close. But no, just a really strong year. Nothing I could have done about it. I had my opportunity, and I gave it a go, and luckily I made it. And I had a good race at nationals. I was slightly disappointed because I was only less than a second off All-American, but being able to do that which was what ended up being a crazy race, a lot faster, and to come close to my PB again, I can't really complain. So, and off not really aiming for it, it wasn't the focus at all. Just one of those ticking boxes along the way. But it set me up nicely for outdoors.
That's a nice segue into our next question. In fact, outdoors, you had run 13:26 the year before, maybe surprising some people in doing so, and then to go 13:15 again, people hadn't really learnt their lesson, and also were surprised by that. But I suppose anybody that knows you and knows the system at OSU, really, that maybe wasn't a huge surprise. Olympic A standard. You joined Mo and Chris Thompson, I believe, at that point with the A. So yeah. That must have been nice. Obviously, you maybe had a slight idea that you're in that sort of shape, but to actually do that must have been pretty surreal.
Yeah, I mean, my sessions here were going really well, and Coach Dave Smith was throwing out kind of throwaway comments every now and again, and I think you can run this time, and I think you can run this time, and I was just going along week by week, getting the miles in. I went out to Stanford a couple of weeks before the second Stanford, and the Stanford Invitational, I think it's called, and I ran 3:41 off a pretty average first 800, and it was a PB, beat some good guys, and I knew I hadn't tapered for that at all. So, but about a week and a half before Stanford, I went back and looked at my last year's training log, and I'm like, I couldn't even compare the sessions. Steve, they were so different. This year's were similar sessions, just the times were, you couldn't even compare them because they were so much different. And I was like, wow, I really am in a lot better shape than I was last year. And we had aimed to run an A standard. Not many people knew that we were actually aiming for it, and some people were surprised, but at the end of the day, to me, it was more satisfaction and happiness that I'd done it. Not that it was a surprise I'd done it, because that was really the aim of that race, was to go and get an A standard. So people were surprised, but Dave wasn't. He was happy I'd done it, obviously. But it was great being able to do it. I mean, I don't remember much of the race, apart from with 3 laps to go. It started to hurt a lot, but I managed to hang on, and Chris certainly helped out a lot, having him there and trying to hang on to him the last lap. And then
that was the crazy.
I don't really remember.
Was that the same race that Lopez Lemong ran 58, thinking it was the final lap, and then he still had a lap to go?
Yeah. Thanks to Lopez, I can't see the last 800 of my race on the video because the camera's following him. So, but no, yeah, that was a crazy race. I didn't even know it happened in the race. It wasn't until afterwards one of my friends was like, Lopez thought he went a lap early, and I was like, I saw him took off, and I'm like, there's no way I can go with that. I just need to hold my pace and do as best as I can. But me and Chris had a pretty strong last 600, and I think a group of like Tegenkamp and Bumbalo actually got a bit of a gap on us, and we were able to close them down again and finish second. So it was pretty cool to do, and I don't remember much of the last 200 because I glanced at the clock with 400 to go and realised I could do it. I'd lost all track of time until then, and I'm like, oh, I only need 65 to break 13:20, and I'm like, okay, well. And I was hurting a lot that next 200, and then with 200 to go, I looked at the clock again, and I saw that I think I'd realised that I had about 35 seconds, and I'm like, oh, this is it. So I don't remember much about that last 200, apart from trying not to have a huge smile across my face and let my eyeballs pop out of my head, but and look kind of half normal. But yeah, I mean, it was unreal to run it, and I think it also helped the company I was in as well. That was kind of crazy running with those guys.
Unfortunately, you've got the 13-15, you've got the qualifier. You finish the NCA season. You go back to Britain, gearing up for the trials, in which I think at that point there's only 3 guys who've got the time. So all they had to do is essentially finish the trials, because Nick hadn't yet got the time. So there's 3 basically shoe-ins for the 5K, and then tragedy strikes, and you get a stress fracture in your foot. Is that correct?
Yeah, third metatarsal. I raced in Oslo and didn't race as well as I'd hoped, but about 3 or 4 days before, my foot started hurting. It wasn't anything crazy pain. It was just one of those aches, and I wasn't limping when I was running. It wasn't affecting me when I was walking. It was just something that was there. So I was keeping an eye on it, nothing crazy. So I ran in Oslo on the Thursday night, and I'm great. I wasn't happy, but I ran 3:43. Wasn't bad. Coach was like, it's okay, don't worry about it. I haven't raced for 5 weeks, so you needed to blow out somewhere. And the next thing was a trial, so I took the Friday off after Oslo and went for a run with my friends on Saturday back in Carlisle at home. About 65 minutes into the run, I just couldn't run anymore. I mean, the pain in my foot got worse, and then I thought that, I didn't know what I thought. I just thought my foot was tight, so I took my shoe off and just kind of stretched my toes and thought that, I should be alright, and I put my shoe back on and tied it, and there's just no way I could even put any weight through it. So I was like, this is really odd. Luckily, one of my friends was there on his bike. Matty was able to get off his bike and give me his bike. There was no way. It would take me about an hour to walk back from the middle of the forest to the car. And so I got on his bike, cycled back to the car, and drove home. Like, this is really weird. Like, I've got, I've never felt this before. It's weird. At the point, like, I was kind of worried because the area I was feeling the pain was, there wasn't that many muscles around there. It didn't feel like a muscular pain. I'm like, this is odd. So after a shower, and I kind of had some breakfast, I was like, right, Mum was like, let's go to the hospital just to make sure that it isn't anything bad. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think it is, but we'll go. And obviously after an x-ray, I didn't need a bone scan because it was a fracture that you could physically see on an x-ray. So it was heartbreaking, and I had a couple of awful 2 weeks, but after that it was just kind of like life goes on and try and enjoy the rest of summer, really.
The British summer.
Well, yeah, the British time at home. You can't really call it summer.
So, putting that behind you, you're back at OSU for your junior year.
No, senior year.
Oh, time flies, Tom.
Tell me about it.
Is it your junior year at Cross?
Yeah, junior year.
Okay, so you redshirted your first year.
Yeah.
You're looking to take the cross title back to Stillwater after Wisconsin took it from you guys this year. So, what are your goals this year? Is it obviously NCAA cross is one. then
Yeah.
indoors, outdoors, and then maybe even the Worlds. Is that another game?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Cross is the big one at the moment. Team's looking pretty good. Everyone's healthy, everyone's running well, everyone's focused, everyone's excited for the season. So far so good. I have no complaints. Got a great group of guys, great group of support staff around us, coaches, trainers. I've done a lot of work with one of my trainers, Joel, his name is, and I can't thank him enough for the work he's done. Just to not get me back fit, but just make sure nothing else happens in the future. So yeah, Cross is the focus this year for the up until nationals, and then indoor and outdoor. Haven't thought about them massively yet. I don't want to start thinking about that before Cross is over. We've got jobs to do first, but yeah, indoors, NCAA season, Big 12's nationals being the big ones, and then outdoors. I will run outdoors as I redshirted last year. So as of now, the focus is on the NCAA season. I haven't run well at outdoors yet, so I'd like to do that first. And completely focus on that. And then if I'm feeling good and things are going well and training's still good, I'm not tired, I will look to the European season and maybe come across, do some European races. I think there's European under 23s, I think. And there's obviously Worlds in Moscow. So there's a lot of things there on the horizon. I would like to run well at NCAAs though. And I'm currently there before Worlds. But I'll need to sit down and talk with Dave and decide what the plan is. We might be able to kind of structure training, whereas I can almost have 2 peaks in a year. But right now it's cross and indoor and outdoor, all NCAA based. I'm here at Oklahoma State. They're paying for me to be here, and I need to do a job for them. And Dave was really good and let me redshirt last year and aimed for the Olympics, and everything was going perfectly. I couldn't complain about anything. It wasn't anything he did. It wasn't anything I did. Just one of those freak accidents. But hopefully we can sort something out so I can kind of attack kind of almost both seasons. But it isn't hard. It's not easy to do at all. Not many people have a great success with it. I mean, you can name anomalies, and it's not common for people to have a great American season and have a great European season. So we'll see what happens. But it will almost be a decision on how the outdoor season's going and how training's going and stuff.
You could be the next Cam Levins.
Yeah. I'm not doing a 10K.
That's what Rory Fraser said, so you'll be fine. Thanks very much, Tom, for giving us your time. Best of luck for Cross, and we'll be keeping an eye on you.
Excellent. Thanks, Steve.
No problem.
Welcome.
See ya.